Hello, I'm James Izimoha. Welcome to Africa News. Let's see your headlines. South Africa hosts G20 Summit as world leaders arrive in Johannesburg. Human rights groups urge inclusion at the G20 Summit in South Africa. South Sudanese officials say oil production and exports are now fully resumed following last week's drone attacks. South Africa is stepping onto the global stage as it hosts the G20 for the first time on African soil. Global leaders, including Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Brazil's Lula da Silva, and Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, have arrived in Johannesburg for Africa's first G20 summit. The event is taking place amid diplomatic tensions, with the United States choosing to stay away over allegations of discrimination. However, South Africans say they are happy to host the world.
The mood, it's a vibe, and we are happy that we are hosting the big this G20. It feels like we are happy
because the other countries are united. They want to work together. It's a time now that America must see that all countries can do something without America participating. So this is a good thing for the other countries to go ahead without them.
We're hoping that something positive will come from the gathering.
As G20 leaders gather in South Africa under the theme Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability, civil society groups say these commitments must be matched with meaningful action. Their calls come during the Parallel Social Summit in Johannesburg, where communities often excluded from global decision-making are speaking out.
The mood was one of celebration and hope as thousands gathered at the G20 Social Summit in Johannesburg, looking for change.
We'd like to get some opportunities for our people. As you can understand, our people are so disadvantaged, so we need to work together with our government and then to make sure our people do get these opportunities of empowering our people.
The social summit, being held for a second time within the G20 framework, places a huge focus on women, youth and marginalized communities.
The important thing with the social summit, as you can see, we have brought in civil society and many NGOs, really organizations that come from grassroots, representing people on the ground. So it's not just political parties.
Much of the sentiment echoed the main G20 working groups calling for inclusion, equitable climate finance, greater technology adoption and representation in global decision-making.
We would want all the international forums to have the youth representatives there and have investment in youth, for youth to also talk about the policies that's affecting their future and their present, their education and the world that we live in.
And opportunities for young people, the skills development, youth empowerment, and those initiatives need to be funded for and be harnessed towards changing communities.
Some are also calling for greater unity as geopolitical tensions between South Africa and the United States escalate ahead of the summit.
I hope I can speak on behalf of the Global South, but I'd love to see all the G20 member states hold the US responsible for making sure that our dreams and ambitions are protected.
Civil society has spoken global solutions can't be shaped without the people they affect. Delegates here are pushing for fairer economies and real social justice as G20 leaders arrive in South Africa for the main summit.
South Sudan says its crude production and exports are now fully restored after drone strikes shut down 2 key processing facilities inside Sudan last week. Experts say the recovery offers temporary relief, but ongoing border attacks still threaten output.
Oil funds more than 80% of South Sudan's budget. However, since war broke out in neighboring Sudan in April 2023, South Sudan's oil production has been depleted due to attacks on oil facilities. Operations have returned to normal after joint South Sudan technical teams repaired damage at the Hijlich and Al Jabalain central processing facilities. But there are still sporadic attacks on oil facilities at the South Sudan border. And this month, there was further disruption in oil production when the Hijlich oil field was attacked by drones, according to South Sudan's government.
The Ministry of Petroleum assured the general public and the people of South Sudan that the flow of crude oil from South Sudan has been fully restored and crude oil export is now flowing normally from South Sudan through the designated pipeline to the export point at the marine terminal in the Red Sea in the Republic of Sudan.
The Petroleum Ministry says the country is currently producing way less than what it can produce. South Sudan's government says the resumption of oil production will benefit the country's economy. The companies working in the oil field say they plan to increase production.
This crisis has caused the losses not only the lives, but also the economic sustainable for South Sudan and Sudan. We are always trying our best efforts in professional way to protect our people as our bottom line and fundamental.
Some analysts say South Sudan's government should try to diversify the economy away from a reliance on oil that is negatively being affected by the fighting in neighboring Sudan. Dar Petroleum is currently producing about 97,000 barrels per day, with plans to ramp up towards 150,000 barrels. Greater Pioneer Operating Company is producing about 40,000 barrels per day and is expected to reach 50,000 barrels. Its level before the shutdown. Sud Petroleum Operating Company is producing about 13,000 barrels per day compared with 15,000 barrels before the attacks.
Aid workers say children displaced by Sudan's war are carrying some of its gravest physical and emotional wounds, yet many can't get the help they need. Health workers and psychologists warn that untreated trauma is deepening as families flee intensifying violence.
Children displaced by Sudan's war are carrying some of its deepest wounds, aid workers say, but many are unable to be seen. In one camp in Al-Daba, northern Sudan, young survivor Anas Muhammad plays in front of a tent after fleeing from fighting in Al-Fasher. He can't hear his surroundings. His grandmother says he suffered some hearing loss due to the loud explosions near their home in Al-Fasher. Muhammad's case is not uncommon. UNICEF's Sheldon Yett says just under 100,000 people have fled Al-Fasher.
Roughly half these are children, and they're coming in very, very poor state. They're coming malnourished, coming dehydrated, they're coming with just the most horrific stories of what they witnessed and what they went through.
A doctor in the camp, Al-Habir Essam al-Din, reported examining various children who have partial or total hearing loss. The psychological scars after witnessing scenes of violence are also deep. As a result, psychologist Fatma Al-Noor says many minors suffer from bedwetting, night terrors and behavioural changes like being isolated, lying or stealing. Aziza Ali and her children are displaced in Al-Daba camp.
When we took these children out, they found the dead and bodies in front of them and the injured on the ground. They saw the beaten and the wounded people with their own eyes, so they were afraid and screaming. You'd find an injured person beaten in front of you. Some people are afraid and run away. The children run away from us and we hold them with our hands.
The war erupted in April 2023 when the army and the Rapid Support Forces, then partners in power, clashed over plans to integrate their forces. Al-Fasher's fall on October 26th has cemented the control of the paramilitary RSF of the Darfur region. The city has been cut off from communications since the RSF offensive. A UN-mandated mission has said the RSF committed multiple crimes against humanity in the Al-Fasher siege. The RSF says reports of atrocities have been exaggerated, but that it was investigating cases of abuses by its soldiers. Sudan's army has also been accused of war crimes in the 2.5-year conflict. Sudan's army and the RSF have both dismissed past allegations, accusing each other of carrying out abuses.
Tanzania is moving to safeguard one of its most recognizable cultural symbols, the Kanga garment. The government has begun the process of securing UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage status for the fabric, which has become part of East African identity for more than a century.
The kanga has been worn by East African women since the 19th century. The Tanzanian government now wants this fabric protected. Safina Kimbokota, who is working on a doctoral thesis on the kanga, says the fabric is closely tied to East African and Tanzanian history, particularly the Swahili people along its coast.
The
Swahili are a group of people who, after coming out of slavery, sought to define their identity. That is where the term the Swahili comes from. So in Tanzania, I can say this is part of our identity because there is nowhere else in the world you will find the kanga. And if you do, it's from East African countries.
Though sizes vary, a typical kanga is about 1 meter wide and about 1.5 meters long, featuring patterns and sometimes proverbs. Once used primarily as a simple wrap, the kanga is now inspiring modern designers who see new opportunities in its versatility.
People like to distinguish themselves from other fast fashion clothes. When you wear a kanga, even in a crowd, you stand out. Someone else may show up in jeans and a t-shirt, but when I walk in like this, people notice me because of how the kanga looks, its unique colors and its messages. That's why, for me, creating and selling kanga outfits has been easy.
The Tanzanian government argues that safeguarding and branding the kanga as a protected heritage product could help stimulate domestic textile processing, support small and medium enterprises, and expand the country's footprint in regional and global fashion markets. After more than 2 decades of debate on adopting a national attire, experts are pushing for the kanga to be declared Tanzania's national dress. They say this, along with other measures to protect the fabric, could give it a new lease of life, help it cross borders, and ensure it continues to adorn generations to come.
Nigerian hairdressers are blending tradition and trends at the Oyo Festival, highlighting the rich heritage and evolving trends in Yoruba hairstyling. Organized by the Nigerian Beauticians Association, the event featured models on the catwalk, accompanied by drummers and dancers. Take a look.
Hairdressers in Nigeria's Oyo state showcased Yoruba heritage on Wednesday, with intricate braids adorned with beads and wooden combs at a cultural festival. The event featured models on a catwalk, displaying old, new and trendy hairstyles. The exhibition was also an avenue for members of the Nigerian Beauticians Association to display Yoruba cultural heritage.
Our culture is our heritage. So, as Ashewa, we want to develop our culture in our own little way.
Formed in 1985, the group now counts more than 10,000 members, reflecting the enduring importance of hairstyling in Yoruba culture.
Hair is an important part of Yoruba culture. Indeed, it is considered number one. It also serves as a major expression of fashion for women.
Founder of the Nigeria Hairdressers Association, Olubunmi Adesanya, said the industry has evolved over decades.
We started with straightening and coiling. We use odd comb to do straightening and coiling. You know, gradually things are changing. Now it's attachment, weave-on, wig. And that's what people are using. But not stopping you to make sure you treat your personal, your ear.
The festival highlighted efforts by Nigerian beauticians to preserve traditional styling techniques while adapting to contemporary fashion demands.
Well, that's all we have today in African News. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to A News.